So I just finished watching the Quintessential Quintuplets movie, and I know some people are going to be confused as to how I managed to watch this, considering the fact that Crunchyroll quite recently announced that the movie was going to come in theaters in December 2nd if you lived in the United States or in Canada. But something did happen quite recently that I wasn't really expecting it, and it's the fact that the movie actually got leaked online. Yes, you heard me right, the movie got leaked. I'm not sure how it got leaked. I've been trying to find out how it got leaked, but I've seen a lot of answers as to how this could have gotten leaked. But at the end of the day, the point is that the movie got leaked online and you can actually go watch it yourself. And I think by now the majority of people know how to watch it. I don't think I need to explain it to you how you can watch this movie right now. But yeah, I finished watching the movie and overall I think it was great. It wasn't perfect, but it was still an enjoyable watch. I don't regret watching this movie, and that's mainly due to the fact that I just really enjoyed this series. Now, I wasn't surprised at things that happened in this movie because I have read the manga. So all the things that happened in the movie, I wasn't surprised because I already read it in the manga. Now, spoiler alert, because I'm going to spoil some things that happen in this movie. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it right now. Or if you're planning on waiting until it gets released in the United States theatrical, you have been warned because I am going to spoil things that happen in this movie. But yeah, like I stated earlier, I think this movie is great. I think this movie did a good job in giving us a proper send-off to this series because this series is great. I think anybody who has watched this series from season 1 all the way to the movie knows how good of a series this is. Now, I know some people are going to mention about the girl who ended up being with Futaro. Don't worry, I am going to talk about the ending and what are my final thoughts of this series now that the movie has pretty much concluded the entire story. But before we get into that, let's talk about the positives of this movie. First off is the animation. Obviously, this is a really good movie with some really good animation. It's not that different from season 2 of the series, but it still gets the job done and having some good animation. And of course, there's always those highlight moments that you can clearly tell where they put the budget in. But yeah, in terms of animation, it was really good. Voice acting was spectacular. Every voice actor did a good job with each of their characters. The OST was spectacular. There's just something about the Quintessential Quintuplets OST that is always really good, and it's personally one of my favorite OSTs in the rom-com slash harem genre. I don't know what it is about the OST in this series, but it's always really good to hear, and I really do enjoy every song that came out of this movie. But now let's talk about a few things that I had issues with the movie. Now, the first one is based on the movie alone, and it's the fact that they had to rush the pool arc. If you've seen the movie, in the beginning of the movie, there was this whole montage of Futaro and the girls all at the pool. In the manga, there was actually more conversations, more dialogue with Futaro and the girls, but sadly, they had to pretty much do a quick montage of this arc to get to the main plot. These next two are not really the movie's fault, it's more like the manga's fault really, because there were two big things that happened in this movie that I feel like were kind of late to introduce, especially towards the final arc of the series, which was the Culture Festival arc. I feel like these two moments were kind of not really necessary. The first one was the return of Futaro's old childhood friend. I feel like this could have been done earlier in this series. I'm not sure why towards the finale that's when all of a sudden we get back to Futaro's old friend. The second one was the return of the Quin's biological father, also known as Human Trash, because if you don't know, this guy literally abandoned them as soon as he found out he was going to have quintuplets. So that's why he's called Human Trash. But anyway, aside from that, similar to Futaro's old friend, not sure why they decided to bring him back towards the finale. I'm pretty sure this should have been done earlier in this series, or not even done at all, because I'm pretty sure the majority of people who have watched or read the series didn't really care what happened to the Quin's real dad. I mean, who really cares? Like, he's still garbage because he still abandoned them, so who really matters what happened to this guy? But yeah, this was just like the two things that this was kind of the manga's fault, because I didn't really like it as well in the manga. The fact that Futaro's old friend and the Quin's biological father all of a sudden are in the finale really doesn't make any sense. It's just a short amount of time. I'm pretty sure the majority of people weren't going to be interested in neither of these two because there was just so little time with them. Like, there was barely any screen time with these people. But that's just a few issues that I have with the movie. The rest of it's fine. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what I think a lot of people will most likely be talking about after watching this movie, the ending. So if you have finished watching the movie or you have read the entire series, you would know by now that Yotuba ended up being the winner. She was the one that ended up being with Futaro, and of course, a lot of people weren't happy. Now, I was a Nino fan ever since the second season. I really enjoyed Nino's character development, and I was one of those people who wanted Nino to win and be with Futaro. And if that wasn't the case, I would have been fine with Miku winning as well, because she also had good character moments and good character development in the series. But of course that didn't happen. Neither Nino or Miku won, which shocked a lot of fans because these two were the characters that a lot of people wanted Futaro to end up with, either Nino or Miku, but that didn't happen. And while it is unfortunate that my favorite character of the series didn't win, at the end of the day, I kinda understand why Futaro chose Yotsuba. The reason being is because Yotsuba and Futaro have a long history. They in fact met each other when they were kids. They just didn't know it at the time that they were going to meet in the near future. And they made a promise to each other they will study hard and make sure to have a good lifestyle, because one thing they had in common when they were kids was the fact that they did not have great lifestyles. They both grew up poor, and Futaro didn't really seem to care about life. He was almost at a point where he just pretty much didn't care what happens to him and pretty much gave up on having any motivations. But after he met Yotsuba, he pretty much had motivations and he pretty much was determined to become a better person. So in that way, you can kind of understand why Futaro chose Yotsuba, and it's mainly due to the fact that he never forgot those moments that he had with her when they were kids, and it seems that for him that was really special to him, same as Yotsuba. She never forgot about Futaro ever since that day. So with that, you can see why Futaro chose Yotsuba. For him, Yotsuba was the person who shaped him to be the person he is now. If he didn't meet Yotsuba when they were kids, he wouldn't be the person he is right now. But despite Yotsuba being the one who ended up being with Futaro, what I really enjoyed about this ending is that we finally got the final character developments for each sister, and that's something that I really enjoyed about the ending, that each character got their final character arc. Ichika decided to follow her dream of becoming an actress. Nino fixed her relationship with the person that took care of them after their mother passed away. Not only that, but she also learned that the relationship she has with her sisters will never be broken. No matter what happens, nothing's going to change the fact that they're still going to be by each other's sides. Miku got her confidence and decided to do the things she wanted to do and just be confident about it. Yotsuba finally fixed her self-esteem issues and realized that she has to put herself first rather than others, because something that you notice in the series that she would always put others first and then worry about herself later. That is something that was always being a problem for her, and that is something that she eventually learned in the finale. Itsuki decided to follow her mother's footsteps, which was wanting to become a teacher herself. And finally, our main protagonist himself, Futaro, also got his final character arc as well, in which he realized that the girls improved him as a person. But not only that, but he really enjoyed his time with the sisters, even though they were sometimes annoying to him or he had a bad start with them during the beginning of the series. He still enjoyed every moment that he had with them because he's never had that kind of experience before. Before he met the sisters, he was always alone, just simply studying and taking tests. He didn't really have that much friends and he wasn't really good at socializing. But once he met the girls, he got to experience all of that, which of course he is very grateful for, and it shows that he deeply does care about the girls. So even though your favorite character of the series didn't end up with Futaro, except if you're a Yotsuba fan, but at the end of the day, you can't deny that each girl got their final character arc and we got to see how they grew as people. Like, just compare them to season 1 all the way to season 2 and the movie, they're completely different characters. Like, they have changed a lot, and that is really the magic of character development, because they became different people than they were originally in season 1, and that's a good thing because we got to see them grow as people. We saw them trying to improve themselves. We saw them have goals and ambitions and determination, and that was really the point of the entire series. Sure, one of them was going to end up with our main protagonist Futaro, but that was not really the only thing that was happening in the series. No, we saw the journey of the girls, how they were from the start to how they ended up being in the end. That was the other factor in the story of the Quintessential Quintuplets. So while the ending wasn't perfect, I do not regret watching this series. I do not regret watching season 1. I do not regret watching season 2, and I especially don't regret watching the movie because I enjoyed every moment with Futaro and the girls, and I can safely say that this is probably one of the best harem animes to come out in a while. This perfectly shows us that even a harem anime can have a good story and a good set of characters. It doesn't have to be a dumpster fire. It doesn't have to be that it's so bad it's good. What the Quintessential Quintuplets showed us is that even though it's a harem anime, it doesn't have to follow the typical harem tropes. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy Quintessential Quintuplets so much, is because it wasn't trying to be a dumpster fire. It was actually trying to tell a good story. And even though the ending could have been done better, let's be honest, there's probably even worse other endings in rom-com / harem animes. Like, I've seen a couple of bad endings from other series, so the Quintessential Quintuplets ending isn't the worst ending I've seen in anime. There are other series out there that had much worse endings than the Quintessential Quintuplets. But if you're still someone who can't get over the fact that Yotsuba won, then I highly recommend you watch one of those fan endings that are on YouTube. I mean, there's some on YouTube that have each of the girls having their own moment with Futaro and a what if scenario, like what if Futaro ended up with the other girls other than Yotsuba. As a Nino fan, I was kind of curious and I checked, and I noticed that the endings that had either Nino or Miku winning Futaro, they got the most views. So it goes to show you that yes, even to this day, people still wanted these two to win, but unfortunately that did not happen, and that is something that I sadly will also have to accept, that Nino didn't win Futaro. But yeah, like I stated before, great movie. I highly recommend you watch it if you're a Quintessential Quintuplet fan. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.